Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo. Good morning. This is summer. This is Obon season. And this is the time of year we really like to connect with our loved ones who have passed on. About 30 years ago, I decided to leave dentistry to become a minister. My older brother-in-law died of a heart attack at the age of 51. He was a very successful orthodontist. He had a wonderful family, 4 children, nice house. But then he died, and nobody was prepared for that. The whole family was devastated, except for perhaps some older people. His mother. His mother was a widow because her husband and my brother-in-law's father died when he was 51 years old. His father was a Buddhist minister, Reverend Yoshio Iwanaga, who was the minister who brought Obon Odori, or dancing, to America. He traveled around and showed many temples the Obon dance. And Mrs. Iwanaga, being his wife and widow, perhaps really embodied some of the Shin attitudes. And even the loss of her son, she seemed to be very strong and held her composure. I remember as a young person in the seeing older folks, be impressed by seeing how they almost had a calm acceptance of death during funerals. And many of them were, of course, devout Shin Buddhists. And I think it's this knowledge of death by Buddhists that it really affects how we live our lives. This is how we are really separated from our animal ancestors, because the Buddha talked to us about the 6 realms of human existence. And he tells us that it's only from the human realm that we can really awaken to this human existence. Because even the higher forms of devas aren't really accessible to this higher realm of awakening. So it is this unique ability to contemplate death that we have access to the meaning of life. Now, many of us consider our physical lives as the real one, the primary one. And we might think that the spiritual life is kind of secondary and it's there for our convenience when we need it. But could it be that we have things that are upside down? Now, Obon is a shortened Japanese term for the Sanskrit word urambana, which means hanging upside down. And traditionally, this kind of indicates that we suffer. And it tells the story of Moggallana, a disciple of the Buddha, who with special powers was able to see his mother after she passed. And he realized that she was in the world of the hungry ghosts. And this is the realm because people have been greedy during their living time. But it turns out that she was greedy because she always wanted things, but it was for her son, Moggallana. And when Moggallana saw this, he asked the Buddha what to do. And the Buddha suggested that he offer some gifts and offerings of food to the other monks, which he did. And because of that, his mother was free to leave this realm of the hungry ghosts. And when Moggallana saw that, he danced with joy. And so this Obon Odori, or dance, is replicating this event. My own interpretation of this story is a little different. And I take it from our modern view of things. Because I think that the story is really pointing out an important truth. And it is that perhaps we are the ones that are hanging upside down. We're seeing the world in a position that we think is right, and that the world is off kilter. But I repeat my question. Are we the ones who are really seeing things right, or are we the ones who are upside down? In Buddhism, we sometimes talk about form being emptiness and emptiness being form. That sounds confusing, but form needs emptiness and vice versa. In other words, we need something solid in order to contrast it with the emptiness of space. Now, we feel that physical form, because we can feel and touch it, is the primary reality. And the other part, the emptiness, the spiritual, is more difficult to validate because we really can't see it. And yet we can conceptualize many things that are beyond form, such as light and energy, even the past and future. Togetherness, love, and being. These are all things that are not tangible, but we know they exist. So for many of us, our physical needs are available, especially in the 21st century. We have choices on what makes our physical life pleasant. And yet our insatiable greed really makes it difficult for us to be satisfied with all the things we have for our physical comfort. And so for all the conveniences and health and safety regulations that protect us, we still feel unsettled. Our common upside down view is that the physical realm is most important. And so our physical security is most important. And yet, because of the recent COVID pandemic, gun violence, highway dangers, and crime conditions, all these things have challenged our physical security. Now, the Buddha is saying the opposite. He's telling us that life is impermanent. Everything changes. Whatever born dies. When our physical lifestyle is challenged, we sometimes need to turn to the spiritual. This physical life is insecure and we know it will end, but the spiritual life will always remain. And so our true reality is spirit. We talk about Buddha nature, immeasurable light and infinite life. It's everlasting. Everything is interdependent. Our bodies are composed of everything. It also is composed of the past and present. And everything is brought together by causes and conditions. Everything is light and life. This is all whole. We named this Amida Buddha, light and life, wisdom and compassion, wholeness. So to illustrate this, we have an idea of physical things and emptiness. A dark letter needs a white background to be seen. So let's consider how we see life. Now, what is right side up and what is upside down? Right now, you're probably watching this in a room and you're watching this TV screen. You may be watching a computer and everything seems real. But even the images on the computer are just bits of energy. And so these things that we think are real are energy or bits of reality. And the people we are seeing are not real people, but again, just electrons. Now, looking at life from our egocentric view, we see life in just the aspect of this room. But what is true reality? Now, we hate to admit it, but it can really look like this. And now we'll see a picture of a planet, because we know that this is our planet and we are just part of this wholeness. And beyond that, the next picture shows us that in our planet, we're spinning around the sun, which is just one star in a galaxy of stars. And then we're told that this galaxy of stars is just one of billions of galaxies in the universe. And so this is our true reality. This is emptiness. And yet we take our world as being inside a room looking at a computer. Now, which image is true and which is the one that is upside down? Now, how might our life and our actions be different if we had this view of looking at our life from the view of the universe? And this is what our Obon activities, our Shotsuki, our many memorial services, all are asking us to have this view of life from the universe to us. Because all of our family and our loved ones who have passed do not have physical life, but they are still with us. No matter how much we love them and we wanted them to stay, they have left us physically and have died. Some have had long lives, others have had short lives. But we cling to our ignorance in believing that our own lives will go on. So what is the message that our loved ones have left us? They tell us that impermanence tells us that the future of our physical life is limited and uncertain. And the only real time we have right now, the present moment. And so as such, we must make each present moment a valuable one. And so it is our relationships with others that's important. And it's how we judge our present moment. Are we having positive ones or negative ones? The Japanese phrase, Ichi Go, Ichi E, means that each meeting and each moment happens only once in a lifetime. And we can decide whether it is pleasant or unpleasant. And this is the basis of the reasoning that we suggest that we live a life of gratitude. And so we can shift from please, wishing for something we don't have, to thank you, really appreciating what we do have, because our life can't be repeated, but each moment can be appreciated. So besides this impermanence, which means that we lose our physical things, there is interdependence, which means that everything is connected. And we're connected to everything that makes us happy and unhappy. Now, there are things that seem overwhelming, too big. And yet, this interdependence means that we are connected to everything. And so we do have an influence on things, especially in a democracy where we can choose leaders and have choices so that we can work toward a happy life. Our connection to others is maintained in the spiritual realm. And this is what Obon is about. Now, I think an old interpretation is that at Obon time, we call in the spirits of our ancestors who come to visit us. But I like to think that our loved ones who have passed on are always with us. And it is only our intention to bring our attention to the relationship that makes it real for us. Many of you know I lost my son, Kirk, 2 years ago at his age of 44. And he's always in my thoughts. I talk to him every day. I just need to voice Namo Amida Butsu. And so it's not that we actually call spirits in. What we're doing when we voice Namo Amida Butsu is we bring our own attention to what is real, the spiritual. And we're connected with all those who have parted with us physically. And so when I share the Nembutsu, when I utter the name, I have thoughts of my father, my mother, grandparents, all the Shin ministers I've known, Dr. Tai Tetsuno, Dr. El Bloom, many people who have influenced my life and who had led me to this understanding. We're connected, and we're always connected in spirit, which means in our body, minds, heart, and spirit. And Nembutsu is that connection. It wakes me up to realize that I'm connected with all of them and indebted to all of them. Last week, we had a rummage sale. And for those of you who were there, it felt great because it was the first time in over a year that we physically were with each other. Of course, we were masked and it was outside. But we were helping to sell furniture that were donated to the temple as a fundraiser. And it had the feeling that Obon has when we get together. And it feels good just to be with each other. Doesn't seem very special, but it's when we work with each other, when we're with each other, that we get the sense of this word, Ichi Go, Ichi E, that each meeting is special and precious because it will never happen again. And it means that I'm one with Amida Buddha, with all people who I've been with. I'm one with you, now in the physical realm and later in the pure realm. So let's remember which view of the world we have. Are we really hanging upside down? Is that why we are suffering? And that my view is an upside down view, and that the real view is like what we saw from the universe down to the earth, which is just a small speck in this galaxy called the Milky Way. And that galaxy is just one of billions of galaxies in this universe. And that's the miracle of it. The utterance of Namo Amida Butsu is to realize that we were born in the first place, in this physical life. And we have a life, whether it's a short time or a long time. And by uttering Namo Amida Butsu, we realize that we are so fortunate to have this life, and more importantly, to wake up to appreciate it. And that's why we danced at Obon. We dance because we appreciate the thoughts that all the people of the past have worked so hard so that we can understand this truth. And that is the essence of Buddhism, to wake up and to share this moment, to share that each moment is a treasure. And so knowing that, we're kind and compassionate to each other. When we realize that life is impermanent, we can be kind to each other. So we continue to utter the words Namandavs. That connects us to everyone in this present life and in the past life, the past, present, and the future. And we mark this awareness by voicing the Nembutsu. So please join me in uttering these words and know that at any time we're connected to all of those who've gone before us, who have provided this activity of the Shin Buddhist temple and the Obon and all the activities we enjoy as humans. So please join me in expressing our deepest sense of gratitude to all. Gasho, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.